Victor Hale was not an ordinary man. At 53, he was the kind of billionaire who had built an empire on cold logic and ruthless decisions. His name echoed in boardrooms across continents, his signature could shift markets, and his fortune was whispered about in awe. Yet for all his power, Victor carried a hollowness that no luxury could fill. The world called him eccentric. His employees used harsher words when no one was listening. He had a reputation for unusual games, strange experiments he played on those who served him. To Victor, people were puzzles, and money was the lens through which he studied their souls. One bright morning, he summoned his senior staff, 23 men and women, into the grand hall of his estate. They stood in a loose semicircle, a mixture of curiosity and dread in their eyes. Victor descended the staircase in a tailored Italian suit, his presence silencing the room. He held a small stack of black credit cards, each one heavy and gleaming. "These," he said, holding them up, "are linked to my personal account. No limit, spend what you wish. Consider it a gift." Shock rippled through the staff. Gregory, the butler, tried to hide his greedy smile. Marcus, the chef, rubbed his hands together nervously. David, the chauffeur, looked as though he was already booking flights in his head. Victor walked down the line, handing the cards one by one. "Buy what you want. But remember, your choices will reveal who you really are." When he came to Amara, the youngest maid, he paused. She was quiet, humble, her hands trembling as he extended the card. "Take it," Victor said. Amara shook her head. "Sir, I don't think I should, I insist." His tone left no room for refusal. Reluctantly, she took the card, holding it as if it burned her fingers. Victor studied her carefully, intrigued by her hesitation. As soon as he left the room, the staff erupted in whispers. Gregory laughed cruelly. "She'll probably use it to buy soap. Nothing more." But as the days passed, the others spent recklessly. Rolex watches, diamond-studded knives, first-class trips to Monaco. And Amara's card, it remained untouched on her nightstand. Victor watched from his study as each purchase appeared on his screen. He smiled grimly. "Greed as always," he muttered. But when he saw Amara's blank record, his expression changed. "She hasn't spent a cent," he whispered. "Why?" Amara's room in the servants' quarters was small, with nothing more than a narrow bed, a desk, and a single window. The black card sat on the nightstand, catching the moonlight. Every night she stared at it, tempted and terrified. One swipe could change everything: her mother's medications, her younger brother Jerome's tuition, the overdue rent notice folded in her pocket. She could solve all of it with a single purchase. But she couldn't. The card wasn't hers. It felt like a trap, a test she wasn't sure how to pass. Her mornings began before dawn. She polished marble floors, dusted priceless chandeliers, and folded linens with aching hands. The work was hard, but she did it quietly, without complaint. During lunch, she made her daily call home. Her mother's voice was frail but warm. "Amara, baby, you don't need to worry so much about me." "I do, Mama. Are you taking your medicines?" Her mother hesitated. "Not the new one. The insurance doesn't cover it." Amara's throat tightened. "I'll find a way." Her brother Jerome's text pinged soon after. "Registration deadline tomorrow." "I can defer if we don't have the money," Amara typed back quickly. "No, you keep going." I'll handle it, but she didn't have it handled. Not even close. In the halls of the estate, she endured Gregory's sharp tongue. "Still haven't touched the card?" "What are you waiting for, divine permission?" Marcus joined in, smirking. "Maybe she's pretending to be holy, hoping the old man notices." Amara stayed silent. She had learned long ago that dignity survived best in silence. Victor, however, noticed everything. From his study window, he saw her kneeling in the garden, helping the groundskeeper's daughter with her homework, laughing softly when the little girl solved a fraction. He saw how she worked without praise, lived without greed, and endured cruelty without breaking. And each day his curiosity grew. A week later, Victor called the staff together once again. "Some of you have spent your cards well," he said, though his tone was more cutting than praising. His gaze swept the room, sharp and calculating. Then it landed on Amara. "You," he said. "You've spent nothing." Amara lowered her eyes. "No, sir. Why?" Her voice was steady, though her heart pounded. "Because it isn't mine to spend." The room filled with whispers. Some mocked her, others envied her. But Victor smiled. Not cruelly this time, but almost genuinely. That evening he summoned her again. "You will have dinner with me," he said. Amara's eyes widened. "Sir, it is not a request." And so that night Amara found herself in a limousine beside the billionaire, wearing a simple borrowed dress. The restaurant they entered sparkled with chandeliers and diamonds. Every guest turned to stare. Who was this woman with Victor Hale? At the table, Amara felt out of place, but she answered his questions honestly. "Does this intimidate you?" Victor asked. "Yes," she admitted. "Why?" "Because I don't belong here." Victor tilted his head, intrigued. "Most people would do anything to sit at this table. Yet you look as though you'd rather be scrubbing floors." Amara gave a faint smile. "At least then I know what's expected of me." Victor chuckled, startling even himself. It had been years since he laughed like that. Before the night ended, he slid a velvet box across the table. Inside was a diamond bracelet. Amara's hands trembled. "I can't accept this." Victor frowned. "Why not?" "Because gifts come with expectations. And I cannot give what you may expect in return." Her honesty disarmed him. For the first time in his life, Victor Hale put the gift back into his pocket. News of the dinner spread through the estate like wildfire. By morning, the staff buzzed with gossip. "She's seducing him," Marcus sneered. Gregory's voice dripped venom. "She's playing innocent, but she's clever. We've been loyal for years, and he chooses her." Their jealousy turned into schemes. Amara found her cleaning supplies missing, her tasks sabotaged, even her bed soaked with water one night. She endured it all quietly, though her strength wavered. Victor noticed. He summoned Gregory, Marcus, and David to his study. "You think I don't see?" Victor said coldly. "The lies, the sabotage. One more act against her and you're finished." The men paled, but their hatred only grew. Meanwhile, Amara confided in Susan, the kindest of the housemaids. "Why don't you just use the card?" Susan asked. "It would make things easier." Amara shook her head. "Because if I take what isn't mine, I lose myself. And that's the only thing I can't afford to lose." That night, as she lay awake on her makeshift bed, she whispered to herself, "They can take everything from me, but not my integrity." What she didn't know was that Victor, passing by her door, heard those words, and for the first time in decades, something in his steel heart cracked. It all came to a breaking point during another of Victor's grand galas. The mansion was filled with glittering guests, champagne flowing like water. Amara, carrying a tray, moved gracefully through the crowd. But Gregory, burning with envy, seized his chance. As she passed, he shoved her elbow. The tray wobbled, glasses spilling toward a guest in a gown worth more than Amara's yearly wage. Amara, quick and steady, caught the tray just in time. The crowd gasped. The music stopped. All eyes turned to her. Gregory smirked, waiting for her downfall, but Victor had seen everything. "Enough." His voice boomed across the hall. He strode forward, eyes blazing. "For years I've tested loyalty, and tonight I've found it, not in wealth, not in greed, but in her." The guests murmured in shock. Victor turned to Amara. "You refused what others could not. You reminded me that wealth is not in what we own, but in what we cannot be tempted to sell. For that, Amara, I owe you more than money. So I owe you respect." Tears stung Amara's eyes, but she bowed her head. "I only did what I knew was right, sir." For the first time in his life, Victor Hale felt small before another human being. All his riches, all his empires meant nothing compared to the quiet strength of the maid who had ignored his card. That night, he dismissed Gregory and the others who had tried to destroy her. And though he offered her riches, a better life, even freedom from work, Amara chose to remain humble, sending her wages to her family, living simply. Victor often found himself in her presence, not as a master studying his staff, but as a man seeking something he had never known: peace. The world never knew the story of Amara, the maid who ignored the billionaire's card. But Victor knew, and it broke him in the best way possible, because in her silence, her dignity, and her refusal to be bought, he discovered the truth he had spent a lifetime searching for, that real wealth has nothing to do with money,